Hey everybody, Dave Clark, aka the Pattern Guy. We're in the pattern shop again. Today we're going to start a project for my cameraman Joe. We're trying to think of products that we can make for ourselves, and he actually is in a local electrical union in town. So he saw this that I made. This is actually a little statuette from one of my favorite movies. And I made this. I'm going to try to get these out to people if they want them. He saw that and asked if we could make something similar to that for his local union. So we're going to get going on that project. We'll try to get as much of it in with you guys as we can. We're going to have to glue up some wood. We'll show you how to start doing that. Got a little bit of machining, and this one actually we're going to have a lot of lettering on it. So Joe's in the electrical union. So we got a couple pictures of things, what we're thinking he wants to do. So we're gonna get something in the combination of something to this one and in between this one. So in between these two, we're gonna come up with something, make a little statuette and see what we can do. We're going to try to make it where we can interchange the different locals so that if anybody else wants them from out of state or different local unions, we can put their number in on it too. So we got a couple other projects coming up too. Keith Rucker from Vintage Machinery asked me to do a job for him when I was down at the little soiree we had down in Mississippi. We're going to get going on that in a little bit. That's going to be another project we'll share with you, and hopefully we'll be staying in the pattern shop for a little bit and showing you guys how to do some pattern work. See you in a bit. Okay guys, even though this is going to be like an artisan type pattern, we're going to still, we laid it out because basically the big thing we had to find out was to make sure that the lettering is going to fit where we wanted to, what size lettering we're going to have to put on that. Okay, so we did this basically out real quick. We just cut a piece of paper out. We're going to actually cut this out of a piece of wood, do some hand carving there, then we're just going to glue up right now. We're going to glue up this round part out of this. I got a piece of 3/8 mahogany. It was already there, so what we're going to do is we're going to make our piece of pie. We'll put 6 pieces down there, cut this out, sand it up on the sander, glue them together, leave them set overnight, and then tomorrow we'll take it over on the milling machine, cut it round. We want to cut a little groove in there, and we'll show you how we do that. And then from there, what we'll do is we'll take that photo of the hands with the lightning bolts, we'll glue that down to a piece of wood, cut that out, and that's going to do some hand carving. Okay, so even though, like I said, this is like an artisan pattern, we still made a layout on it, see where we're going with the lettering. All right, so next step is we'll cut these things out, glue it up, and we'll show you how that goes in a minute. Okay guys, like I said, next step is we're going to cut some pieces of pie out, right, to get this going. So what I did was I took the circle that we had here, and I've told you this already, but we're going to just keep on going over and over. So I got the radius, okay, and then the circumference is 6 times the radius, all right? So this will go around. So I made my little piece of pie, my segment. That's 1/6. So then what I did, I transferred this onto this piece of 3/8 mahogany. I'm going to go over to the bandsaw, cut these out, sand them, glue them together, let them sit overnight. We'll get them on the mill, like I said, tomorrow. Okay, so in between, after I do that, the other thing we want to do is put this on a base. Okay, so this is the master to this project that I did. Actually, this is all mahogany. So it's the cool stuff you can do with wood, right? So what we figured we'd do is use the same type of base. All right, so I was looking at this and I figured out we could cut this top part off and just use this wooden base. But I kind of want to keep this intact here. So, excuse me, what I figured, I forgot I had made a mold off of this master here right? So I can make patterns. We actually put 2 on a match plate on here. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna dam these up with some clay. We're gonna pour, there's 2 halves, we're gonna pour 2 halves. So we'll have a plastic base, and then we'll put tomorrow, when we're done doing the basic pattern, we'll put that on there, and then we'll be done, right? So this is where, like I try to tell you, you know, if you want a different design, fine, but to me, instead of making a whole new base, we're just going to use this one. I like the style of that base. Joe likes it. It's his project. So we're going to go ahead and just use this base. So you can use things over and over and over again. So let me get going on this. I'll show you how to glue this up. And then you've seen me pour plastics. I'm not going to get into that. So probably just see you tomorrow when we cut this out, and we'll try to finish the medallion itself up tomorrow. Okay guys, it's the next day. Our glue up's dried up. What happened was I ended up taking it on the sander. I got a good flat surface. I did the other side. I'm not worried about if this is parallel yet. We need to get it parallel. We'll get it parallel here. All right, so the next step, what we're gonna do is, I have a rotary table. So to me, the easiest way to do this job is on my mill with my rotary table, okay? So being a powder baker, I could have made this a little bit bigger and use the traditional clamps to clamp the sides down. But being a powder maker, this is wood, it's statuette, it's not anything that's got to be hugely accurate. So what we're going to do is I put a piece of wood on top of my rotary table, and that will allow me to just go ahead and nail this piece down to hold it down, okay? So that's what we're going to do next. I took a skim cut off of this. Every time I take this off the rotary table, this piece of wood, I'll go ahead and take a skim cut, make sure it's parallel. Okay, so it's parallel. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my piece of mahogany. I don't know if you can see the lines on here. So where I'm going to cut, I'm going to put a nail, and then we're going to countersink them a little bit. All right, and like I said, this doesn't have to be perfect. And then what I'm doing too is I got a nail in this drill, not a drill bit. You can do that with the smaller brads, okay? It makes things a lot easier. And I'm gonna do one at a time. I think I'm gonna put one every other. We'll countersink these in. One every other should do it. I'm going to countersink them. You really don't have to, because the cutter will cut them off. But I'm going to have this running as fast as it can, so it's not really good for a high-speed cutter, or even carbide to have that nice soft wood and then you hit a chunk. So we're going to countersink them in a little bit, and the reason I'm doing that too, not just because the cutter is going to hit it, I don't want the cutter to pull the nail out either, okay? That's going to be another issue we might have, okay? And then always put these in on an angle a little bit. Whenever you put nails in anything, don't put them straight up and down, because that's more tendency to pull out, okay? I'm going to put one in the middle, and then we're going to do some countersinking. Okay guys, getting ready to cut the profile on this job. We got it cut down. It's all parallel right now. What I did, I put a 7-degree cutter in the milling machine. We could tilt the head. Right now this thing's perfectly indicated, so I didn't want to mess with that. I do have degree cutters, which, you know, if you get into this stuff, the degree cutters are where it's at for doing this kind of stuff. So I got a 7-degree cutter in. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get the outside, and then what we're going to do is come up, go over, we're going to put an 1/8 inch rim around the outside, drop it down about 60 thousandths. The letters are 50 thousandths. So I'm going to drop it down a little bit lower than the letter height. That way we can run the surface on a sander and, you know, clean it up nice. So we want the letters a little bit deeper, and then come back up, drop down, and do the middle part. So real easy. And then, like I said, it's nicer when you have this, but you can also do this on the router too. It's just a little bit more setup in that. So let me get to it. Okay guys, I got the outside diameter turned on this thing. So what I want to do next, I want to come in 1/8 inch off the outside. I'm just going to use ruler for that. And like I said, I want to go down about 60 thousandths depth, okay? So in order to do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this cutter, and I'm going to use this piece of paper, and I'm going to put this piece of paper under here, and I'm going to slowly bring the table up. And as soon as this piece paper catches, I know that cutter's at the surface I got right here. Okay, it's called touching off. All right, now this is very dangerous doing this. This is one of the parts of the trade that, unfortunately, you know, to do this kind of work, you are going to have to do this eventually. I wouldn't do it until you're really comfortable with running the machine. There's other ways you can touch off too. This way is the easiest, and that's the way I've always done it. Okay, so I'll show you real quick. The thing I do when I do this though, all right, you'll see me, it's kind of like the table saw. I always keep my hand on the fence as much as I can. This hand's gonna stay on this piece right here, and my fingers are gonna bring this in, okay? And I'm gonna make sure that, you know, my hand's not up there. If that grabs it, it's not gonna pull my fingers in here, okay? My hand's right there, okay? Let's do it this way. There we go. Okay, there you go. That cutter is the same height as this now. All right, so like I said, you're eventually gonna have to learn how to touch things off like that. So you have to learn, but like I said, learn other things first. Get comfortable on the machine, okay? Okay guys, Joe got the basic outside form done. Next thing we're gonna do is we gotta make the fist with the lightning bolts come out of it, okay? So what we're gonna do here is these lightning bolts are going to be proud. We're going to take away this white here. However, it's going to be the reverse here. The white's going to be higher on the fist, except for here. I'm going to carve this out. Okay. I'm leaving this hole for right now instead of cutting these lightning bolts out and then cutting this out. So I'd rather have this meet here while I'm working on this section here, and then once I'm done here, we'll go on a bandsaw and do the tedious job of cutting all the lightning bolts out, okay? I'm using a pencil grinder here. Usually, and like I said before, the first place I worked at with a German guy, if he saw me using this on a piece of wood, I'd get my ass kicked. Seriously, literally. All right, tradition, all right, you gotta do what you gotta do, okay? I got a $600 set of carving tools. Most of you guys don't, okay? Go to Harbor Freight, 18 bucks I think these things are. They make a nice little carving tool. The reason I'm using this instead of my carving set is because I actually use this real thin plywood that I get to carve this out. The reason I'm using this thin plywood versus just like a little piece of mahogany or something, these lightning bolts won't last cutting them out, okay? So being a piece of plywood, these lightning bolts will stand a better chance of staying intact. So that's why we're using this, all right? So I'll get to carving. Okay guys, we got the plaque off the machine. Joe just got done putting all the lettering on here. He did a pretty awesome job for his first time. So I showed you guys this once before, but what I do, take a stick with a piece of clay on there. We laid the lettering out like this over here. Okay, then what you do is you put a little bit of clear urethane on there. You pick up the letters and just transfer them over. Now the next step, we're just going to let all this urethane dry. You can see here, or lacquer I should say. Gonna let it dry here. Then we're gonna put this guy in here. Okay, started carving that out. So it's really hard to carve these little lightning bolts. So what I decided to do is we're gonna go ahead and put this in here, and I'm gonna try to finish carving this while it's on that plaque. And then that'll be that. And then from there, we'll go ahead and put it on the plinth. Okay guys, had enough for today. This is how far we got on this job here. So what I'm going to finish up real quick is another trick of the trade. When you glue the letters down with the lacquer, you can move them. What we used to do in a shop a lot of times, in the job shops I worked in, then you let it harden for a day or so. And then you go ahead and paint some more lacquer over the top. I find it easier. I just got some spray lacquer. That way you don't have a chance of melting the lacquer that's underneath the letters and moving them. All right, so this will stay as it is. So before I start carving the hand and the electrical bolts out, I'm going to give it a couple coats of clear over the letters. That way, hopefully, we're not going to disturb the letters any. So anyhow, we got this far today. I'm going to get back on another big job and start filming that. And we'll show you how I'm going to finish up with this also. And we got a couple other good projects coming up that we'll share with you, okay? So we need some subscribers. Everybody that subscribed, I appreciate it. Hit the like button for us so we can keep this stuff going. Everybody have a good one out there and stay safe.